Alright, so a lot of you have asked me recently to do a complete starter guide to give you guys a little bit of direction on how to progress through Throne of Liberty. Obviously, the game just came out. A lot of us are pretty high gear score. We've been playing through the past like 2 weeks of the game being out. And there's a handful of nuanced things that maybe a new player could get some information about that'll help their progression. And seeing that a lot of you wanted to know this, I'm going to be breaking it down here in this video. Just keep in mind some things may be wrong, some things may be off. The game always evolves and this guide will not go off the channel, so it may be here for years to come, so who knows. I'm gonna do my best to give you guys the best information possible as of the launch of the game. So let's dive into my complete starter guide of Throne of Liberty. Alright, first things first, let's talk about selecting a server because there's 3 things you need to know about it. First things first, when it comes to the region, you are region locked depending on what region you're in. You cannot swap between regions as of today, October the 14th. So you cannot swap between these regions, so be sure to know that you should be in the region where you and your friends are going to be because you can't swap between them. The next thing is these early access servers and these normal servers are different. If you start into these early access servers, you are not capable of swapping to these normal servers. So if you have friends who are in these regions, be sure to know like what server they're actually on because you cannot swap between them. Early access is locked to early access. These guys are locked to themselves. This could change on the 17th when things become like a little bit more like free, but keep in mind you cannot swap between these servers, so make sure you know that. Finally, and most importantly, you are capable of swapping servers freely up until the 17th of October. Otherwise, you'll have to pay for these afterwards, but you can come to change servers here. You can purchase these tickets, click purchase, and then you have access to 2 tickets a day, resets during reset time, and you will be able to use it. So we click this, purchase it. You'll need to, we'll go back. You'll need to make sure you don't have these things, so you can't be in a guild. You must collect things from your shop. But as you can see here, the only things that are available to me are those servers that we talked about a second ago, because I am on a server that is very specific to early access because that's what I got baited into picking from friends. So make sure you know that, but you can server swap 2 times a day. But yeah, that's how server changes work. That's really important. Let's talk about the journey itself. So your first major goal in this game is going to be to get to level 50. That is by far the most important thing that you should be doing. And while you should try to have fun, generally speaking, your major goal is hitting level 50 because that's when the game actually starts. From what I understand, for an average playthrough, it probably takes about 10 hours. If you're faster and like really focused, you could probably get it done in 8. I'm going to give you some tips on how to get there faster that I made some minor mistakes on, so let's talk about that first off. So you're going to be doing a ton of story quests throughout the town. It's very easy to like get a little lost, so I'm going to show you a trick that I used to help me out. So you're going to press in, and this is going to pull up all your different content, your contracts and things like that. And one thing that whenever you're doing a specific quest is I would click the star here to favorite it, because it will actually then show it on the map so you can generally see it. Now I'm not going to use this one because it's hard to see it on the map because those are very specific ones. But let's go to this one. This is the easy one. We'll click here, favorite it, and we'll see it on the map now. And this will show you when you're within the, like, where is that now? So it's easier for you to see it on the map because it's hard to sometimes follow quests and it can be a little annoying. The other thing to note as you're looking at the screen, eventually you will run into a situation where it says you need to reach a certain level to be able to continue the quest line. And the way you do this is typically by doing these exploration codex. So for example, at the ruins of Tyran, or whatever it's called, you can click content details. And this will show you the different amount of things that you can get for doing it. This one will give you a morph, which is cool. This one will give me gold, things like that. You kind of want to just look around because some of them will give you XP and things like that. Gold, materials. I don't know if I can see XP because I'm already max level. Yeah, I don't think I can see XP because I'm max level on this account. But ultimately, it'll show you like XP, gold, and things like that that you can get from it. So whenever you're in between where you can't actively like do quests, this is how I would do it. Just go to the codex and then see what different missions. And generally speaking, you're probably going to want to complete this sometime down the line. I'm a little bit lacking on this, but this will give you like a lot of different resources because these crafting materials are very, very important to the game. Next, let's talk about guilds, because guilds is a very important thing to the game that is going to be really, really interesting and something you need to do. I would say, I don't know if I would say early, but I would try to get into a guild that is somewhat active as soon as possible and start like donating and doing things, right? So as you can see here, guild, this is the guild menu, and you'll get access to a combination of things. Actually, let's go to the guild hall so I can make it a little bit easier for you guys to understand. Again, you're still going to be actively trying to hit level 50 as soon as possible, but this is something you should keep in mind and try to do if you can do it while you're you know, venturing and leveling to 50. You'll very likely be able to get into a guild fairly easy once you hit like level 30 plus. But anyway, there's this guild merchant here. Every guild has one, and this guild merchant will give you access to a ton of materials. First off, for some of you, this may be a desirable thing here. Being able to get a guaranteed blue weapon. It doesn't have the best stats, but you can in theory use your guild coins to give yourself a blue weapon, which is actually pretty valuable. You can use it to upgrade other weapons, which we're going to talk about in a second, or just give yourself a blue weapon that you may need. Most importantly, that comes out of this is all the different resources. These precious material bags, rare base material bags, rare polished crystals, all this stuff has a daily limit, meaning you can get all this stuff every single day. Things like this trait conversion stone that's weekly is actually really important to the progression of your game. And so being able to get even these like mana things, they're not even bad either. Having some really sizable potions are good too. So being able to get these on a daily basis and spinning the daily limit would actually be really good. You can easily do this. As you can see, I have like 34 by just doing donations, stuff like that. Solent, for example, gives you a lot of it, and you just get a lot of resources. Now you saw there I actually got a completion, which we're going to talk about in a second there. But as you see, you get a lot of different coins. You can go to the rewards while your guild is doing things. And I just got a ton of tokens, and then you get this chest as well that you can get, and it will give you a lot of different resources. So having a guild is super important, and I'm gonna go ahead and purchase some of this stuff. I've been trying to finish this. I'm gonna actually do this later. I should finish these base materials actually. But anyway, these are some of the things that you should be trying to get daily, because this is going to contribute to like crafting stuff and crafting epic weapons, because they can be a little hard to deal with. So yeah, this is guild stuff. Try to get in one as soon as possible and start doing guild stuff. All right, next let's talk about contracts and talk about Abyssal tokens and things like that, because this is something you're going to interact with fairly early. So there will be a contract vendor in every single city, like this guy. I can't talk to this one, but there's another one that will give you resistance based contracts that are going to give you access to the coins that you see here in the top, called contract coins. You will get 10 of those every single day, and you should generally do them. Keep in mind that a lot of people don't recommend you do them before level 50. Personally, I don't think I care too much. I think it's important to get your levels, and if you need a little bit of filler content in between to get your levels, I think it's worth doing, in my opinion, because in the grand scheme of things, it's not like, I don't think it's that important, in my opinion. Like you're not going to really be doing that many contracts that early that matters. But anyway, I would be doing those contracts as soon as possible, ideally once you hit level 50, but do them and don't be afraid to actually do them, which is kind of the point. And the reason why you want to do those is because they give you access to things like mystic keys. They give you access to things like trait stones. They give you access to things like lithographs, which can be easily used to like give yourself some initial gear. Things like this, where you can give yourself a full-fledged epic chest if you decide. I don't need it because I have a lot of epic gear, but this could be something that can help you out a lot. Wretches, blessing stones, you can get these every day. Pouches rather, you can get those every day. Just a ton of different materials, fishing stuff. So doing those contract points are going to be really good, and you definitely need to pick up these mystic keys because you're going to be doing some dailies. Another vendor that I think you should be able to get access to, I don't know, I only looked at this after I hit level 50, so it could be available or not, and that's these ally resistance contracts. You should buy these every single week. Make sure you pick them up. They do not cost more than a little bit of solent. You'll probably have more than enough. You'll have millions by the time you hit like level, I don't know, like 20 or something. So you should be able to easily afford this. Is like 500k or something. You get these every single week, and this will give you access to contracts that's going to give you a ton of gear. The gear that you can get is pretty much these precious blessing pouches. Every time you complete a contract, you'll get experience. You'll get these here, and then you'll get the possibility of getting items that you see in these blessing pouches. It's going to be unique to that region. Now I'll just show you. I should have one in my inventory. So I have one for the island, for example, and then as you can see, there's a island specific pouch that gives you the ability to possibly get them. And then as you see, you will get some solent, and then you'll get the contract coin and some activity points. And so you'll be able to actively like get a lot of gear and stuff. Again, you're probably going to wait until you're about 50 to do this kind of stuff, but still buying it before like the weekly reset is actually really important. while we're talking about the weekly reset, it's important that we take a look at it, because there's some things that you're going to be doing every week, and this is kind of one of the reasons why it's semi-important to be in a guild or to kind of rush to 50 to some degree. I know that sounds bad because I know a lot of people like playing, but there's some things in the weekly mission that'll be easier when you level 50. For example, doing the world stuff, which is like mystic portals and acquired globes. This is just opening those little globes on the map to give yourself extra resources, which is important. Completing those contracts we talked about a second ago, acquiring, doing events, dimensional tokens, we'll talk about that in a second, and then obviously the guild stuff, we already covered this. So doing guild stuff is going to give you these question marks, and what these question marks is, hopefully it has it here. Yes, it has it here. Basically it'll give you an opportunity to possibly get items. As you can see here, I did all these different contracts, and I was rewarded with the possibility of getting any of these items that I select. You can select one of them. So as you see here, there's a % chance of what would possibly come up, and this is the possibility of what will roll in that specific slot. And then if it rolls there, you can then specifically choose to use it, as I did here. I got a greatsword here, which I chose to use the greatsword over these other items. But this is actually really important that you're doing this stuff, and getting to level 50 is going to make this stuff much easier. We talked about guild stuff for co-op dungeons. This is going to be another way for you to get like some good XP early as well. If you're struggling with XP to progress the story, you can simply just go to your co-op dungeon and then start doing these missions. Obviously you won't be able to do the level 50 stuff, but you can do like the level 20, 30, and 40 stuff, which will be fairly easy. These are relatively easy dungeons. There's plenty of guides on them, and they will cost you your dimensional contract tokens to pretty much open the chest at the end to give yourself the possibility of dropping these items. Ideally, you're going to be spending all your dimensional contract tokens every day if you can, because it's just going to give you opportunity for you to just get as much gear as possible. And it recharges every day. As you can see here, it's like an hour and 4 minutes before you get 900. I think it's lower when you're a lower level. So again, as you get higher level, you'll get more and more and more. So that's why it's important to have a higher level, so you don't actually miss out on some of these things, because these things cost 300 each, and they can have some really powerful stuff, like this great sword I really want for my PvP build, which is absolutely bonkers. So really cool stuff here. All right, next let's talk about gearing and enchanting, because this is something I made a really big mistake on early on. If I had done it right, I probably would have had a lot more resources to upgrade. I am sitting at a pretty solid gear score of 2,300, but this could probably easily be 2,400, 2,500 if I did it a little bit better. So let's go over my gear. So you can see now I have a lot of epic gear and a lot of rare gear, mostly predominantly rare gear. And the way this game does it is a little bit different from other games. Generally speaking, in other games, you want to get epic as soon as possible, and to some degree that's true here. But actually, in a lot of cases, you want to progress from the tier to tier to tier, because that's going to be way more beneficial to your resources. In order to upgrade this weapon, it's going to take 7 precise weapon great stones in order to do 1 tick of upgrading, and that's quite a bit, because these are very hard to get a hold of, and I don't have a ton of them. It won't get me to level 7. This will give me maybe a bar unless I get a special, which is a 10%. And so these resources are pretty valuable, and so generally speaking, you don't really want to upgrade these until about level 6, because you know that's when it's going to be most effective. And how you do this is actually really interesting. So I'm going to sacrifice a little bit of resources to give you guys a better idea of how this works. So let's say you're starting the game, you still have a bunch of green gear, but you see that you want rare gear. You're like, man, I really want to get to rare or epic. I'm gonna have way more stats. Here's the thing. What you want to actively do is actively get green gear and level it up, and then put it into your blue gear, and then level that up, and then put it into your epic gear. That's going to be the best way to save resources. So if I just go straight into this and try to upgrade it, it's going to cost me a lot more resources, right? It's going to cost me entire these rare ones to upgrade it from 0 all the way to 9, and you don't really necessarily want to do that excuse me, because it's going to obviously cost you these, and these cost way more than just straight up getting a green. So as you can see here, it takes me green. So I'm going to just show you an example of this where I can just upgrade a green, because whenever you upgrade these green stones to the rare stones, it costs way more of these greens to upgrade it, if that makes sense, right? So I'm gonna fully upgrade it. Oops. So this is level 6 now. So this is where a lot of you may be. You got all your gear to level 6. You may be tempted to, well, I mean, you may be tempted to just put on an epic piece that you get because they do throw some at you, but that's actually wrong. What you would want to do is go to transfer, go to this weapon, and then transfer this over to that weapon. As you can see, it got 300%, which pushed it to 3. Now you already saved on a ton of green, rare stones now, because you didn't have to expend so much. And now you can start off from here and push this one higher. So you just made your rare stones go a lot longer. If I had a purple bow, I'll show you the purple bow, but that's kind of the same thing. Once you get it to max level, you then, after put it into the purple, you want to progress your gear. Keep in mind, there's way more nuance to this when it comes to like the traits, the blessings, and things like that. That's not like super, I mean, it's important, but that's more min-max stuff, and I think that's better for a specific video for it. But I just want to give you guys a basic understanding of how you should generally be enhancing your gear. And as you can see here, despite me having like a lot of different epic pieces of gear, I'm not necessarily using it because it would be way too expensive to upgrade these pieces versus just using all these different rares that already has stuff on it. And as you can see here, something like this is going to be way more valuable than something that has almost no traits, because I'm gonna have it already max level, and I'll be able to actually get way more stat values out of this than going to something, let's say this, I know they're different type of weapons, but they're different type of armor pieces, but still this would be way less stats than having something like this. So you have similar things, but I can't upgrade this. I can't afford to upgrade it. So swapping to epic from your rare is actually going to be baiting yourself, because you can't afford to keep upgrading it. And then these are way more accessible, meaning you'll more likely run into the traits, and then you'll be able to put traits over onto it and get way more stats than having just this useless epic that you can't upgrade. All right, so the last part of this video, I'm just going to give you guys a little bit of idea of what you should do after you hit level 50. This should give you a general direction. First off, obviously make sure you're in a guild. People really want level 50s that are active, so making sure you are in a guild is really important. The other thing is I would be expending my tokens here, my dimensional contract token. It's gonna be a little hard to decide what you want to do. Maybe you're a tank, so something like grabbing this greatsword may be good, or facing off against the Death Abyss will be good because he has things like this and these armors. So this is something you can think about. It's gonna be a little hard for you to know exactly what you want to do, but generally speaking, maybe do these so you can start getting some gear, because it's really important. I would try to do resistant contracts, specifically in the areas have gear that you want to like drop. So for me, for example, I always come to the Shattered Temple area because it has a lot of different zombies here. I'm a little high, I'm over on my contracts. I actually need to start doing this because I'm starting to lose contracts. Make sure you don't lose contracts like I'm about to do. Anyway, for example, I want to do the Shattered Temple because it has access to things. You can come here to monster info, and this is how you could farm gear if you want to farm without using these Abyssal contract tokens. So let's say, for example, I want to get more things for my chest. I can go to these Galu Knights, and they have the opportunity of dropping more plate armor of the resistance, and if I get a trait that one, I can transfer it over to my current gear and keep progressing my gear. Obviously, it has a chance to drop epics. I've not gotten an epic from this guy, but I have gotten multiple plates like this. I've gotten 3. I sold the 1 because it had a really good trade on it, and then I kept 2 because I want more melee endurance. But this is going to be a way to like start farming, target farming different things that you want. So use your contracts in regions you typically want, or maybe if your guild is doing like guild missions, you can do things like that. That is going to give you access to these Abyssal contract tokens, and what you're going to do with those Abyssal contract tokens is once again use these different scrolls that you got from the sundries or from many other things in the game, like the purple bags they sometimes give them, stuff like that. And you're going to go to these very specific regions. One here, this is the Abyss. Recently floor 5 and 6 opened up. You can go down here, just be careful at night. These are considered PvP zones. There's multiple places like this. There's the Sanctum of Desire, the Solomon Island, or whatever it's called. These all are contract-based places you can go to that are all open now as of making this video. So you can go ahead and go do that and give yourself more gear. You can do guild-based stuff. You can go around the world looking for globes to get your mystic keys. Spend your mystic keys. Do things for the guild. Guilds have guild contracts that you can typically do and contribute to. You can do stuff like that. Go to the Shadowed Crypt, use the Moonlight spell, defeat Wildkins, and this will give you different resources, keys, stuff like that. There's so much you can actually do events so that you can do your weeklies. So maybe target your weeklies, go do some events. That one's fairly easy. There's, I think, events going on the map right now. Yeah, there's events going on the map right now. Or better yet, you can just go and do your contracts, press this, and just start doing these exploration contracts and get yourself a bunch of resources. Oh, speaking of resources, while we're talking about it, make sure you always check your leveling log. Your leveling log actually gives you a ton of resources for when you do things. So make sure you go do these things and you can get it. I use the in-game money that I earned from selling things on the market to purchase the leveling log pass as well, because it gave me a ton of resources that you can see at the bottom there. That has helped me a lot. But make sure you're doing these different leveling log things. You're not going to be able to like do a Sherna bog. That's not like likely. But you're able to do a lot of different stuff, you know, which is really important. So make sure you're doing that. Outside of that, I don't think there's anything I missed. If I did, feel free to leave it down in the comments. If there's any corrections that I need to make, feel free once again to leave it in the comments. Let me know what videos you'd like to see next. And yeah, I'll see you guys in the next Thorn and Liberty video very soon. Thanks for watching.